This is my subject, the butte that's projecting up into the sky. And the decisions I'm making now are, first of all, I want it to be an upright painting. I think that'll emphasize the upward motion of those forms. Also, I want it off to the right, which means there's some dead trees down in there or something. I'll make something, if that's off to the right, I want something in the lower left as a sort of visual balance. The horizon line will be low, although you know, there are no buildings, so perspective doesn't come into it very much here. But those are the decisions. What you do is you sort of visualize the painting on the shape that you're going to be painting it on, and then you have an idea of where you're going. In other words, you prepare. You don't just start swinging away with a brush and hope you get a painting out of it in a composition. Here's my palette. Left to right is white, cad yellow light, yellow ochre, cad red light, and it looks like I put some lemon on there for some painting or other, but that's not normally on my palette. And then ultramarine blue, alizarin crimson, and viridian. I use viridian and alizarin crimson as my darkest dark. Just as a tip, I cut a hole for this because the Terps cups are generally too small for what I want to do. And I cut these you know, with a saw. They fit onto these upright posts here. And under here is a piece of wood that I've epoxied on that fits on the inside of the drawer. So that when you put that in there and then shut the drawer down, you have a very, very stable palette. So the first thing I'll do is draw these forms in. That's about some mountains over here. That's about the position I want for my focus. There's a kind of a cap that happens up there. And this, I'll give that some shape. Comes over to about there and then goes down. And there are some forms that come down like that, and now this will be smaller than this, and that'll be smaller. Then there are essentially three ridges that are going on here, and I want, in order to just get a sense of some sort of perspective, I want those to be as I just described. That little shape. There's some pignons in here, and I'll have rather a large pinion tree, and in front of that, off to my right, is a dead tree that I like the shape of. So I'm going to put that in, and it'll be something like that. And then these are going to be coming down like this, and then there can be another. So what we have here is this coming over, well, actually this, these, and then up to the, so there's what I call the linear geometry is moving the eye up into the painting. And this is the most important part of the painting. Okay, so now I have my the rough idea of where these shapes are going to be, how this painting will be composed. And now what I want to do is get just an idea of my darkest darks and my lattice lights will be the board itself. This is not canvas. There's a big rock there. This is not canvas. This is gessoed masonite. Now this, it'll be a smaller tree. This tree will be large already. You don't want things of the same size. But what this will do, you see, it cuts off that corner. Corners are kind of an arrow. And that's happening over here at least well enough. There's a bunch of rocks and whatnot in there, and then there's this. Okay, now one thing I can hit with at least a fair degree of certainty is the sky. So I'm going to do that. And it can be kind of a greenish at the horizon or near the horizon, of course. The horizon's way down here in this particular painting. I'll just give that. There's something to judge against. That's not finished paint by any means. Now I might, judging by that, I might be able to at least get close to this paint, which is a kind of a greenish. The way you get this is by scanning, not on the painting, up there. But you look up around here and look at that out of the corner of your eye, and the color that you see in the first few seconds of seeing that way, that's the color you paint. And that's, I'm sort of seeing it pretty much like that. This comes down. Okay, now on this I'm not seeing up there. But what I want to do is carry this as a kind of a background. There'll be a connection here, what my teacher used to call a relationship. So those, that'll form a background for the focus of my painting. Now, if that's fairly right, and I think it is, then maybe I can get close to this shape in here. Might be a little bit darker. I'm going to make it a little bit darker because now this is going to be yellow up here, but I'm going to do this in the same, using the same paint as down here because I want these values to be very close. And I'll use, well, you'll see when I get to it. Either this is darker or this is lighter, I don't know at this stage yet. But all of these, everything that I'm doing here will be adjusted later. Now I can get some drawing up here so that give me an idea of where I'm going with all of these things. This is no particular color, or let's come down. There's a little skirt which I like. It gives it sort of fundament. It gives it plenty of and down here there are some darks, but not as dark as this. There are some trees in there that are in shadow. Just indicate their approximate placement. And then some purples, a little darker than that. Hard edge. This is a hard edge. Always keep in mind where the sun is, because the sun's up on the upper left. It's coming down here. So as it falls across forms, this is the side that'll have the hard edges, and this side will be softer. That's where the halftones are. Something like that. Now let's just put that cap up there. Again, I'm going to guess at this. That's the, much as possible, you paint back to front. So what I'm painting is the earth underneath, that's seen in between these the fir trees up there. And then you put the fir trees in. And at that distance, they're quite blue and light in value. I think that's pretty close. And then you want some shape here. You don't want it round. Now this is all going to be adjusted later when I come back with the sky. So at this point, we certainly don't want the perfect to be the enemy of the very good. And that's very good for an indication. So all of this is just reminders of what I'm going to be doing later. And when I run across them, they'll jog my memory. Okay, so there's that cap, and here's where all the, I think I could hit these pretty well. These, they're bands. There's a band of yellow, then there's a much lighter, thinner band, and then it gets into more of the reds as it gets down into here. So I think I can hit that yellow band fairly well right now. And it'll look something like this. Now there's the shelf that comes out, an angled plane. And that will become rather prominent as we get into the get further into the painting. Okay, now these reds, I'm looking for patterns here. Patterns are pinon. There are pinions and junipers up there. I'm just going to get this a light grayish. So it looks like a cap. Is that hard edge I was talking about? And I'm starting to get a good idea. Remember, these I did say that, didn't I? These are masses. What I'm after here are the large generalized shapes, or masses, is what you do in the beginning of a painting. Okay, now I'm going to lay, I'll just lay in. And this is the thin band of it's here. There's some reds in there and some grays. Some grays over here as well. Indication of them now. This comes down. Like that. What's happening? Something's loose. Well, okay, now this is more gray out there, and you know, I may as well. At this point, I don't see any reason not to, so I'll go with what nature's given me. Now those are and there's rocks and all sorts of business happening there. But those are my masses. Okay, now. And this will be lighter values here, but and warmer. By warm I mean yellow in this case. Yellow, greenish yellow. And then there's some shadows which I'll just roughly indicate. And they will take on a bluish, purplish cast. The reason for that is that there are two sources of light on a sunlit day such as today. The sun, which is a point source of light and causes these forms to fall into shadow and also causes cast shadows. And the sky. Now what's in shadow obviously is what the sun is not striking. But the sky, which is diffused, affects everything that's in the shadow. This is a top plane, more or less. Top planes are facing the blue of the sky and therefore are affected by it. Now I'm not seeing that as much as I'm painting it, but my teacher used to say, paint what you know, not just what you see. So now, in order to get some, remember I said this was sort of bluish? Well, they get yellower, as yellow is the color that leaves first. So this will be, these patterns which I'm about to paint will be slightly maybe yellower than that. And then as they come forward, these will be the most yellow and up in, of course, the foreground. So the greens will become more yellow. Okay, that's a little too dark in value. All right, now what you do here is you squint to get these patterns. Happening. Oh, got a screw loose. I've heard that before. Bugs. Bugging me. Some of those fir trees are catching light. Now this will be yellower still. The shapes up in here. I'm going to simplify them. There's a lot more going on down there than what I'm doing, but you know, some of these can be a little more yellow. That. And then there's some isolated piñons or junipers, and then they get smaller as they recede. So this will be larger than these, and you know it's well to make that rather apparent. Okay, now that feels pretty well massed into me. Now I can go back up to my focus and work on that. hard edges on that side. And then some of these are sort of doing that, going in that direction. And then there are others. And the principle of unequal measures, I want all of these shapes to be, and then they to be have unequal distances in between, and to be unequal in size themselves. And here's my, so this is coming there, and something like that. And then, see, I'll put another one over here. So that this shape is smaller than this, and this is larger still. So I can have something. And oh, that's what that is. This is banging back and forth. Let's just disregard that. That's part of just part of painting outside. Okay, now what I was going to do was to get a sense of, oh, whoops, sense of these shapes. I don't want that. This comes down. This goes down, and there's that. It's kind of like a cap. Pretty much like that. Now this piece of paint I'm about to put in there is rather important, because within this focus is another, this is, you see, this is off to the right, this will be my dead tree. This is really a very important portion of the painting, because that's, I guess you could call it the focus within the focus. So I want that, overstating that, it's probably a little more bright than it has to be, but anything worth doing is worth overdoing. So here's, remember I said this plane, this is sort of a shelf, and it's coming out this way. In the shadow, that can be, because it's, remember, it's receiving more light, that can be blue. And there's another top plane in there. There's a few there like that. Now, because that shelf is moving out into the light, it'll be lighter in value. So this is the shelf. There are also some white stripes, but that's not what I'm painting here. What I'm painting here, no, this is. Those are the white stripes. They seem to come on. I'm going to put those in now. They seem to be fairly irregular. Pick up here and there. And then for some reason they're lower here. But I want some kind of a relationship there like that. Okay, now within these upright floors, there's some striations, shapes that are doing things like that. I like that they're moving this way and then upright in the middle, and you know, these shapes are moving into the painting, which is always a good idea. Have things moving into the painting. Now, there was a scientist named Eugène Chevreul, and his work influenced the Impressionists. And one of the things that he discovered was simultaneous contrast. So if you want to make something light, you put a dark next to it, which is what I'm doing right now. And also, it can be a complement. Now here's a hard edge because that's a cast shadow, and then it'll get softer on this side. All right? So this is coming down here like that, and this is doing something like that. You see? There's trees. I don't want them the same height. Not that this is finished paint, but you never know what's going to last into the painting. So, may as well get it at least somewhat right in the beginning. Now I want that, I hope you can see how attractive to the eye. That light edge. Now, in order to make that lighter, I'm going to add a dark. Doesn't have to be that dark, but see that area of the painting right there. Now, in the shadow, remember this is a yellow local. I want to hold that local, so this I want to be a yellow. It's too light. Too light. Too bright. I have trouble with this. If this value is accurate, and I think it is. I think that's at least pretty close. And this value would be about the same, but the feeling is the feeling of yellow, as opposed to this being more red. Okay, we're getting kind of close to it. Now maybe I'll add a little bit more red down in here to make that distinction. Okay, this looks red now, and that looks like it could be yellow. Okay. Now, while I'm looking up there, I can paint these shapes are pretty. Remember that here's my sharp edge that I like so much. Sharp edges are legible. You know, they make sense to the viewer, as do soft edges. Now remember, the sky, the sun's in the upper left, so these shapes will be lighter where they face the sun. and that'll be on the left of those forms. Sort of like that. It's like a, will you please? I don't know if it's the same bug or there's, got it in for me. Maybe I'm delicious, who knows? Okay, so these, all right, that's working rather well. Now, out in the light, some of these trees are catching the light, but not back in here. Okay, so we can do that, break that up a little bit. And here are these, all of these patterns again. So I can work down. These are doing more like this. Get a little, every now and then, an individual one. A hint of cast shadow here and there. Now there's some, to further attract the eye to this focus. Got a great opportunity to get a couple of sharp edges, and one of them, there's some light, sort of a warmish grayish light in here. It's you see that sharp edge there? Oh, it just went. Not to worry. Some rock faces that are exposed to the light, and put some up in there just to, I want to, and then there's some shapes up in there like that. When I get to the, why don't I do that now? I'm going to get to that sky somewhere. See that sharp edge there? Is very helpful to attracting the eye to my focus. just want variety there. Here and here. So you get a feeling without painting it too much, without getting all tight with rendering. You just want to get a feeling that there are trees jutting up into the sky. Okay. It's a little too round. Round is what he was talking about trees, but Frank Vincent Dumont used to call round trees Bezutanum trees. Bezutanum trees are the trees that only art students paint. Okay, so there's a shape that I like better than what I had. See, it's not round, it's sort of flattened out there, and in the middle it'll be even more flat. Come back with a clean brush. Okay, enough, huh? Who knows, maybe I'll even put some. Now these can be, these are actually lighter in value. What I'm going to do is indicate them with a palette knife.
Morning.
Oh yeah. I guess you can tell this is not a staged event. I mean, this is the way, this is actually the way I always paint. I'm just out there, people come by. Sometimes, unfortunately, they interrupt. But at this point, I used to get really annoyed by that, but now I put down my brushes and I talk to them, and then I say, well, I better get back to work, and, and pointedly look at my wristwatch or something. And, they're nice people. They don't mean to destroy your work. They just don't know. And they're interested. So, and they usually take the hint, and then I just continue on with my, now these caps, they're catching little lights here and there. So I'm going to get an indication of that. I think that gets the feel of them. Okay, now let's come down with some more of these shapes. Now remember, these were going to be yellow with this. Now they're walking up my glasses, these bugs. Get no respect like Rodney. Okay, so these are greener, maybe slightly greener up there. And then here's that isolated one. And there's some other, and there's all kinds of grass, pebbles and rocks and stuff going on in there, and a variety of, let's state these darks again. Now I'm just going to, this is this Pinana juniper. I'm just going to roughly state it, but you see, let's say there's a trunk over here. The branches go this way and that way, but they go generally in this direction. That's what my teacher would have called the action. And what you're doing, you see, if you paint with that action and vary it, you'll give a sense of the skeleton of the tree. Which is a good thing. Now, if I talk about, you paint back to front, remember we were talking about that up here? Because this is pretty much stated, I can, coming out into the light can be some branches. Now, I like these branches because they're legible. You know what that is? That's a branch coming out from beneath this tree, and maybe there's some over here. Okay, so there's that. I'll get back to that in a minute when I paint that. Now, another thing you want to do, I am seeing this. Sometimes you see it, sometimes it's hard to see, but it's pretty much there. What I'm going to do is I'm going to grade this in value toward the top. Same thing up here. And up here as well. Now the idea is to get it to roll over. So this would be a dark, these are darker values down in here, but indicating there's sorts of rocks and things. Now within these, the light's coming from the upper left. And the reason you remember that is because, you know, the sun's moving and you don't want to chase it around. Or you wind up with, well, chaos. So on this side, there will be some cast shadows. And also the trees themselves will be, and there's underplanes and all sorts of things. But, see, the shape of this mound is like this, and that will be the direction that these cast shadows will take. The shape of they'll reflect the shape of the hill. Now they might be more sense of those, all those pebbles and whatnot. Okay, so this is coming up like this. Kind of lost that zigzag business I had. Let's see how this was coming up. Okay, so this I'll do more like that. Fall into shadow there, and then there'll be some indication of this direction, and up here, and then up. Okay, we're back in business. sort of off the beaten track here, so these people are very good about giving you your privacy. Now there is some red earth here. It's kind of showing through between these grasses. This was ending right in the middle, and that's why I did what I just did there. What happened? These grasses are kind of a bluish green, like sage. I don't know if it is sage. Yeah, some of it is. There's some sage over it. Okay, so you get these bluer greens of this in here. Okay, so now let's get to my tree. And that tree looks something like I'm also turning it around. It's facing in the other direction. It's something that comes down like that. And then it goes over and up. Pretty much like that. Now, with a light striking it, I can use a palette knife to get the roughness of that bark. Sense of that bark. And then there's this form coming down here. Sort of like that. And to define that form, and then it would have a cast shadow coming down in there, like something like that. Just trying to hit a reflected light, but that's too light in value. Yeah, more like that. Really jagged, this tree. dark there, get that reflected light to read. Now there's something called counter change. This limb is dark against this light and light against this dark. Okay, I don't think there's any doubt that what you see in there is an old dead tree. One for sure at the bottom of trees is lost edges, because you want it to feel as if it's growing up out of the ground. Like that. Okay, there's your dead tree, and it's urging the eye in the direction of the center of interest of this painting, which is that butte up there. It's a real butte. Remember, there's some rocks over here. I like rocks because they're legible. You know just what they are. Well, if they're painted well, they have rockness, whatever that is. It's coming down. That's the color I wanted. Like that. And then this. Like that. Here's this. I'm just thinking top planes, side planes, underplanes, and shadows. This is where the shadows will be. That could be a soft. I'm referring to them, but I'm not really painting exactly those rocks. This can have, especially near these edges like that, this can have at least some sky effect, meaning blue. Like that. Okay? I don't know, it's a little too much there and here, and maybe I'll cover up some of this with that other tree. Something, or maybe pull the rocks. How about put another? Let's put another rock in there, jumping right up out of the, right up into the painting from. All right, that's better. But I need this one larger too. Remember, unequal measures. Yeah, I like that. Dropped my favorite brush. Hello. Park rangers. This is wilderness land. There's campsites and Okay. Rocks. Tricky thing about foregrounds is you don't want to arrest the eye, so if you do too much and they get too detailed, then you don't get into the painting. I mean, I want them to... Come on. I want them to move into this painting. Eat it. What I'm doing there is this is where they're facing the light, so we could have some lights at the top. Okay, enough of the rocks. These worms will be more apparent on the left side of these pinions and junipers. A little bit here and there. I just want that to connect just a little bit better. Lost my hard edge there a little bit. I hope you can see how attractive that is to the eye. I know I said that before, but it bears repeating. Hard edges with value contrasts are attractive to the eye. There are a number of things that are used as attractions, but that's one of them. Bright color, for instance. Now this white I want to continue into the shadow, so I'm going to use a cool to do that. Don't want it to have hard edges or to be so apparent that that's enough. Just enough. Okay, that's having a that's feeling about the way I wanted it to. I get some. See, that'll help to bring these forward too. These darks. And you know, there's some little stunted trees here and there. Try to get across the idea of some rocks and a lot of business going on in there. And of course, your counterchain. So all these horizontals, it's good to have actions that are in opposition. You don't want everything going in the same direction, and those dead trees give you a perfect opportunity to change some directions. Okay, that's my painting for here. Now what I'll do is take it home to my studio, and so I sleep on it overnight. I'll find things that I want to do, and that'll be the next section of this demonstration. So now we're in my studio, and the painting probably looks a lot, well, at least somewhat different than it did outside. Because outside I paint with the painting in shadow, and here it's more in, it has more light on it, so you can see it. You can see it better. And some of the things that I want to get to are, I want to do some more with this tree, and these three, you know, large, smaller, aren't working too well. So, well, let's get to those right now. I want to get that. This is one shape here with a couple of individual and then if I do some underplanes of these trees, I think it will it's 1, 2, 3. And to get the top of this ridge to be more in light as it moves up. Okay, that's enough. You don't want to want to do too much with that. It's this is not where the eye is going to go. Um, I really want that gnarled look. And I think I'm getting that. Now, I think I can have some lighter greens to give more of a sense of foreground. You want to get them to have the idea of the grasses grow up, so you can use upward strokes, especially in the foreground. Before, and of course, in the distance they fall more into patterns, but in the foreground, see, that's enough. These yellows, as they get stronger, here in the foreground now, are giving the sense, more of a sense of recession than they had a few minutes ago when I just did this. Okay, so there's that. Okay, so now we've got this movement up, 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 and then into the. So that's those are compositional ideas that I think are working rather well now. Hello. These. Just a little bit. And these dark trees, they can't be as dark as the darks here because I don't know if you can see it on what you're looking at, but they are. If you were looking at the painting, you would see that they're a color, blue, and if an identifiable color just can't be as dark as these darks, which are just a near black. I don't have black on my palette, but it's a combination of viridian and alizarin, which can seem quite black. There's that simultaneous contrast. And this, I don't know if you can see that either, but that's quite blue as this shelf moves out and receives more skylight. It's quite blue right there in the shadow. Now, just to, I might just calm this red down a little bit. It might be a little bit much, but I want to leave that fairly bright because that's where I'm really trying to attract the eye. Now, remember I found these patterns, and then you can, this was sort of going in this direction. And you can paint the earth underneath to break some of these up a little bit so that they're not, see, that looks like maybe another small ridge. Okay, I'm happy with all of that. Now, I think I come in with a little bit lighter value here, where the sky gets a little bit lighter as it moves toward the horizon. That hard edge all along there really is very attractive to the eye, which is what I want because this is the focus. And this, I think, relates well enough so that you can see that this is hooking up. Okay, that's fine. Now, I'll get that graduation. Remember, this will be a little darker at the as it moves up toward the zenith. And it also can slightly move laterally. Sun's coming from here, so it can be a little bit lighter on the left of the sky. You know, just a hint. That's where the sun is. Okay. There. By the way, while I'm at it, hold the brush like this so that you have at least a shot at some. You see the motion you can get at it? You hold it like an axe handle and you get motions like, you know, it's just, you don't have a chance of doing getting some expressive brushwork, which is certainly something that's worthwhile getting. Now, in here, where the focus is, I'm going to, excuse me, I'm going to use a brighter yellow on these bands, and they will darken as they move away from the focus. It's another way to urge the eye in this direction. Another kind of graduation. Like that. And make that a little wider. Now, see, there's a lot of detail and business going on down here, but with what I've accentuated up in this focus, this I believe is now overwhelming this and drawing the eye.